Well, a bunch of wonderful speeches and great testimony from the community. Thank you everybody again for coming out here. I'm Chair State Representative Steve Carra of the Michigan House Freedom Caucus, and it's an honor to be here with all of you today. And we actually have people, I believe, coming from all sides of different aisles in this room here. You know, we heard good arguments about the environment and concerns about the environment from what's going on here. Just the general atmosphere in general, people who want to live in a small town USA, and now they have an industrial park that's changing the atmosphere around them. We have national security risks that were brought up. And even when you get down into the economics of it, if you're going to talk about billions of dollars coming to a small town like Marshall, it seems like people could at least be on the same page that that would be good economically if it was. But there's serious questions about that. Because what about small business owners who might lose an employee because they get billions of dollars in corporate handouts, and that makes it easier for them to pay an employee at this company, not off of free markets and equal opportunity, but because they're given a special deal. So I feel for the small business owners in this community who are going to lose out on loyal employees who are going to decide to take a different job instead. So we can't even agree on the economics locally, and rightfully so. But this costs, for every $1 billion from the state, it costs $100, because there's 10 million people times 100. $100 for every billion from the state, every man, woman, and child. So a family of 5 has to pay $500 for this corporate company to get a special deal. That's unacceptable. That's inappropriate. How do the people in Traverse City feel about this? I'd be furious. How do the people in the Upper Peninsula feel about this? They don't get any benefits from this. What about in my district in St. Joseph and Cass County in the Southwest? I live just about an hour away, but how does this benefit my community? I don't even think it benefits your community.
Amen.
What this benefits is Ford. It benefits the partnership with China, with the Chinese Communist Party, and it benefits special interest groups. This is absolutely inappropriate. This is a redistribution of wealth from the hardworking middle class to the politically connected. And this is the types of games that government continues to play, picking the winners and losers. We saw another bill that passed that gave $200 million to a paper mill in the Upper Peninsula. Now, if you were to say you have a small business, you had somebody working there for 15 years, you just gave them a pay raise to $60,000 a year, and now this paper mill gets hundreds of millions of dollars in corporate handouts, and they say, hey, Mr. Employee, why don't you come work over here? We'll pay you $90,000, give you all kinds of wonderful benefits. What's that going to do for Escanaba Township up in their area? Small businesses are going to suffer because of it in their community. It's the corporate elite who benefits. This relationship between big government and big business needs to stop. Back in the 1960s, the top CEOs got paid about 55 times as much as their lowest paid employees. 55. Today, well, actually in 2007, it's a little bit of an old statistic by this point, it was 542 times as much as their lowest paid employee. By this point, we got to be pretty close to 1,000 times, if not more. It's a statistic I'm going to want to look into further. But this isn't because of free markets. A lot of these large corporations want their industries to be regulated because it crowds out competition from their small business competitors. If their small business competitors are busy doing red tape and paperwork and spending so much of their time and energy on that, it's a small price to pay to be in compliance with regulations for a large corporation to have a monopoly or an oligopoly on the process. So what we're seeing continuously, not just in America, but throughout the world, is an economic atmosphere that benefits a ruling elite. And I believe the leader of our state is trying to prove herself to her friends. She has friends at the World Economic Forum. We know she was a guest speaker there. She has to prove herself to George Soros, and she needs to prove herself to the ruling elite around the world. That's what she's trying to do to step up her political career. It's unacceptable regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. This wasn't just a Democrat issue, and I do want to give a shout out to one Democrat, because there's 56 Democrats and 54 Republicans in the Michigan House. There's one Democrat who has stood strong consistently this year and opposed corporate welfare. I disagree with him on many issues, but he sticks to his convictions. He sticks to his principles. He does not cave. He had so much pressure put on him by his party because they needed his vote to have the Democrats united. They couldn't lose one and still have a majority. 55 is a majority and they wouldn't have the votes. He voted no consistently, not just for the Upper Peninsula for the paper mill, not just for here with Marshall. 3 times he stood strong. So they've needed Republican votes. And they've gone behind closed doors, and they found ways to get those Republican votes. And it is absolutely disgusting. What we had last term when the Republicans had control of the House and Senate is we had all kinds of corporate welfare, which is brought to you by who? The Republican Party. They had control. We had the Speaker of the House. We had the Senate Majority Leader. Republicans brought you corporate welfare. Now that Democrats have the House, Senate, and Governor, they're the ones leading the charge bringing you corporate welfare. It's a problem on both sides of the aisle. This is a fight between the little guy, the middle class, the hardworking people, and the special interest groups and the ruling elites. What we just had with the vote here for what's impacting Marshall, this isn't just a Marshall vote. This isn't just a Michigan vote. This was not a vote that just impacts the United States. It impacts humanity around the world. It's that catastrophic. It's that. So the vote, we had 59 total votes in support of House Bill 4016 in the House. 59, and we had 49 no's. There were 2 who didn't vote. You need a 2/3 majority in order to appropriate funds for private purposes. Our government is acting as if 59 votes was sufficient because it was a simple majority. But the Michigan Constitution in Article 4, Section 30, and I told media with the Michigan House Freedom Caucus, we tried a different day to bring this to light, to tell people in society about what's going on with the violation of the Michigan Constitution. Because 59 votes is not 2/3.
Right.
To me, it failed. It didn't get the threshold. And even if it did get the threshold of 2/3, it shouldn't anyway, because it's not equal opportunity. We're supposed to be a country that believes in freedom and equal opportunity for all Americans, not to give them a special deal. That's not equal protection under the law. But they didn't get the 2/3 vote. And what are we going to do about it? Well, it says private purposes. Would you all think that this is a private purpose to give one company a special deal? Is that a private purpose? Yes, it is a private purpose if you ask me. But they call it a public purpose. They say that it helps everybody in the community. Money that goes to MEDC and then is dispersed from MEDC or the SOAR fund to multiple different companies in different parts of the state, and because of that it helps the general public at large. Or things of the $200 million to the paper mill in the Upper Peninsula, that's an even bigger problem because that didn't even go to the MEDC or a SOAR fund. But regardless, this is not public purpose, this is private purpose. What we had is back in the 1800s is they said that the government could hand out for a 4-H club or actually for a VFW hall. There were a couple were the early ones setting precedent to give certain tax dollars to certain circumstances. And then in 1947 they expanded it for an economic development issue over in Kalamazoo. And they've used that to make the argument that this is a public purpose. So say up in the paper mill one, they'll say things in the bill like, every single paper mill that exists in Escanaba Township as of January 1st, 2023 is eligible for $200 million. So it's all the paper mills in the community, in that one township. It's that your tax dollars, that's $20 from every single man, woman, and child on average in Michigan for that paper mill. Are you happy that you had $20 go to that paper mill in Upper Peninsula?
No.
Did that help you? No, that private company should build their own plant, they should sell their own product, and they should get profits off of the free market, not off of you guys funding their operations.
Right.
That's the proper role in society. But because they said it was all the paper mills in the township, even though there's just one, that was their loophole. That's not what the Michigan Constitution's about. That's not what Article 4, Section 30 was written for. We should demand that we don't circumvent the Michigan Constitution. We should demand that we protect equal opportunity for everybody, not picking these winners and losers, and not taking your hard-earned money and giving it to the politically connected. This is unacceptable, and I thank you all for coming out here and fighting to defend your community, our state, our nation, and all of humanity. With that, I'll turn it over to questions.